My GF said, "You don't get to know what happens on this trip. Period. That's why I'm blocking you until I get back. So don't annoy me." I didn't react. When she came back, she was smiling, expecting me. But she wasn't ready for who stood there instead. Sup Reddit, 31 male. Never thought I'd be the guy posting one of these stories. But here we are. Let's just say when my girlfriend, 28 female, told me I'd be blocked for 5 days on her girls' trip, I didn't argue. I clocked in. I'm a private investigator by trade, and what I uncovered during that blackout wasn't just cheating. It was something much bigger, and when she came back, I made sure the truth hit her in the most unforgettable way possible. People hear private investigator and immediately picture me hiding behind dumpsters with a camera, trench coat, fedora, the whole movie thing. Reality check. It's not like that. Most of the time, it's boring paperwork, following people who are terrible at being sneaky, and then watching them prove themselves guilty in the dumbest ways possible. People think they're clever. They're not. If lying was an Olympic sport, most people wouldn't make it past qualifiers. I've been doing it long enough to get good at spotting patterns. The nervous laugh, the over-explaining, the casual contradictions, they stand out to me like neon signs. And I've always been fine with it. That's the job. But at home, I thought I was safe. Lana, my girlfriend of 3 years, was supposed to be the one part of my life where I could switch off the detective brain and just be. We lived in my house. Not our house. My house. I bought it, I paid it off with years of long nights, dumb risks, and jobs that nobody else wanted. But I let her make it feel like ours. It felt good to share space with someone I trusted. And trust was everything for me. In my world, trust is rarer than gold. I'd been burned before, both in work and in life. So when I gave Lana all of mine, I thought I was doing the right thing. Now, Lana had friends I never liked. The dupe Regina George squad. There was Kara, the leader, like some wannabe cheer captain who never aged out of high school mode. She was twice divorced but acted like those were badges of honor. Then Maddie, basically Kara's shadow. If Kara jumped off a bridge, Maddie would already be midair yelling Zame. And Chloe, the quiet one. But not the good kind of quiet. The calculating kind. The one who watches everyone else screw up and files it away for later use. Every time they came around, they treated Lana like their prize show dog, always reminding her how fun she used to be before she settled with me, the boring stable guy. Never mind that she hadn't had to worry about bills or car repairs since moving in. But I knew the drill. They wanted her back in their circus, not in my corner. Anyway, the big drama started when Lana announced her girls' trip, 5 days in Vegas. Supposedly just her and the Three Stooges, hitting the strip, living it up. I didn't love the idea, but fine. She needed time with her friends. I wasn't trying to be the controlling boyfriend. A few days before the trip, we're packing in the bedroom. I casually ask, "Hey, what flight are you on? And which hotel?" Just in case something comes up. Seems harmless, right? Except she whips around like I asked for her social security number. Arms crossed, eyes narrow. "That's none of your business," she says. I actually laughed, thought she was messing with me. But she just stood there, dead serious. "What do you mean? I just want to know where you'll be in case of an emergency." And she snaps back with, "It's a girls' trip. You're not part of it. And I don't want you knowing where I am or what I'm doing. For once, it's about me having fun without you hovering." Then she drops the kicker. "You don't get to know what happens on this trip. Period. That's why I'm blocking you until I get back. So you don't annoy me." Blocked. Not, "Don't text too much." Not, "I'll be busy." Full on blocked. As in, cutting me out of her life for 5 days like I was some creep she met once on Tinder. I just stared at her. My brain wasn't even mad yet. It was just processing. Because here's the thing. When you do my job, people throwing up walls is nothing new. And the one thing I've learned is you don't beat your head against the wall. You don't scream or beg or try to climb over it. You go around. So I didn't argue. I didn't give her the fight she wanted. I just nodded. Calm. "Okay. Have a great time." And I swear her whole face flickered for a second. She looked confused, like I just spoke a different language. She wanted me to explode so she could play the victim. Instead, I left her with nothing. Fast forward to the next morning. I dropped her at Kara's place. The plan was to carpool from there. She was all sunshine and fake excitement, snapping selfies in the car like it was prom night. Before she got out, she leaned in, kissed me quick, and said, "Don't miss me too much. I'll call you when I land so I can unblock you." I smiled back. "I won't." She laughed like I was joking. I wasn't. She rolled her suitcase up the walkway, waved without looking back, and disappeared inside. And me? I didn't drive home. I didn't go sulk on the couch. I drove straight to my office because the boyfriend had clocked out. And the investigator? Yeah, he just clocked in. Lana thought she was signing me up for a 5-day blackout. She didn't realize she had just handed me a green light. She gave me space, and I was about to fill it with more light than she could handle. The second she disappeared through TSA, I wasn't the boyfriend anymore. I was the guy who makes a living finding answers people would pay a fortune to keep hidden. She wanted a 5-day blackout? Cool. I was about to turn it into a 5-day highlight reel. First stop, my office. Nothing glamorous, just a modest setup with too many monitors, files stacked in piles that only I can understand, and a coffee maker that should have been retired in the 90s, but somehow still works. It's mine, and it's where the magic happens. I started where I always start, vehicles. I already knew Kara couldn't resist posting about anything, so I pulled up her page. Sure enough, there was the photo. 4 of them smiling like they were off to change the world, and behind them in the driveway was the SUV. I zoomed in, caught the plate number, and ran it through a database I probably shouldn't admit I have access to. Took about 30 seconds to get a hit. The car belonged to William Cole, senior partner at a big investment firm downtown, wife and 2 kids, the whole respectable family man package. The type of guy who wears a different Rolex for each day of the week. Interesting start. Lana had told me they were flying budget. Spirit Airlines or Frontier, something like that. Which didn't exactly line up with Mr. High-End SUV. So I dug deeper. Flight manifests are boring to most people, but to me, they're like puzzle pieces. I combed through every flight out of our city to Vegas that morning. No Lanas, no Karas, no Maddies, no Chloes, not even under maiden names or initials. Nothing. But then I spotted it. A private jet, owned by William Cole's firm, filed a flight plan from our airport straight to Las Vegas at the exact time their budget flight was supposed to be taking off. That was it. Puzzle piece number 2. Now, here's the part I actually enjoyed. I didn't need Lana to hand me a single clue. Blocking me wasn't just suspicious. It was basically an engraved invitation for me to start digging without worrying about covering my tracks. She thought silence would protect her. In reality, it freed me to turn up the volume. Still, I wasn't going to jump to conclusions. You can't just walk into court with my girlfriend acted shady and expect the judge to nod. Evidence, hard and clean. That's what I trade in. So I started cataloging. Plates, flight logs, timestamps. Every breadcrumb got a neat little folder on my desktop. Years of habit. The way I saw it, Lana wasn't just lying about her location. She was lying about the whole setup. Her girls' trip wasn't exactly sponsored by cheap flights and tourist buffets. No, this smelled like something bigger, something dirtier. And me? I was already a couple steps into the maze, and I could see the walls closing in on her. And if there's one thing I've learned in this job, it's that people always mess up. They can lie straight to your face, build this big, shiny cover story, even swear on their grandma's grave, but give it a few days, and they'll leave fingerprints all over the crime scene. And when you're dealing with people like Lana's friends, loud, shallow, addicted to posting every second of their lives, it's not a question of if they'll mess up, it's how badly. And these girls? They didn't just slip up. They practically gift-wrapped the truth and put a bow on it. Maddie was the MVP of dumb mistakes. Her whole social media page was wide open, like she wanted strangers to keep track of her life. If you sneezed near her, there'd probably be a selfie captioned, "OMG caught a cold, pray for me." That's the kind of attention junkie she was. So of course, within hours of touching down in Vegas, she started posting. First, there was the poolside picture. Harmless to anyone else. 4 girls in sunglasses, colorful drinks in hand, big smiles. To me, it was basically a police lineup. I zoomed in on the reflection in Maddie's sunglasses. Clear as day, a guy was sitting at their cabana table. Not a random hotel guest either. He was right there with them. I leaned back, cracked my knuckles, and smiled. Amateurs. They always forget the little things. A few swipes later, she had uploaded a video of them dancing at some nightclub. Strobe lights flashing, music thumping so loud the phone mic was gasping for air. But I wasn't listening to the music. I was looking at Kara. She was leaning into a guy. Definitely not her ex-husband. Definitely not just a friendly chat. I slowed the video down, frame by frame, and caught his hand sliding onto her waist. People forget cameras don't lie. Then Chloe, the quiet one, finally posted. It was supposed to look classy, just a group dinner shot. 4 women all dressed up, smiling in front of a wall with this big abstract painting. Normal people scroll past. Me? I paused. That painting wasn't random decor. I ran it through a reverse image search. Less than 5 minutes later, I knew exactly where it was, hanging in the private dining room of a Wynn High Roller suite. Here's the thing. Those suites aren't open to tourists. You don't book them on Expedia. You get them if you're one of the casino's biggest whales, or if you're rolling with one. That was my smoking gun. I called in a favor from an old contact who works security out there. He owed me, so he checked. Sure enough, William Cole was in town that week, hosting clients. The suite was booked under his name, and he wasn't alone. 4 women were listed as guests. And yes, one of those names was Lana. So there it was. This wasn't a girls' trip, and this was a company-sponsored vacation. And Lana wasn't tagging along with her girlfriends. She was tagging along as part of the entertainment package. Now, I could have stopped there. I had enough to torch the relationship. But like I said, I don't deal in half-truths. I wanted the full picture, start to finish. And that's when I found the part that actually stung. Buried in one of Maddie's videos from a casino lounge, I caught Lana in the background. She was laughing, drink in hand, leaned close to some guy. The camera didn't catch his face clearly, just his profile. But something about the posture, the voice in the background, it clicked. I pulled the audio, cleaned it up with some software, and ran it against my database of voice samples. Long shot, but I had to know. The program spat out a match. Randy. Yeah, that Randy. Her ex-fiancé. The same guy she told me was a loser. The same guy she said had cheated on her and broke her heart. The guy she claimed she wanted nothing to do with ever again. And here he was, lounging in Vegas with her, on William Cole's dime. I just sat there, staring at the confirmation on my screen. All the lies unraveled at once. She didn't just block me for privacy. She blocked me so she could live another life for 5 days, one that included her rich married sponsor and the ex she swore was ancient history. I'd like to say I was shocked, but honestly, mostly I was impressed by the sheer amount of layers she stacked on the lie. A private jet, a rented suite, a married exec, 3 girlfriends running cover, and an ex-fiancé on the side. It wasn't just cheating, it was a full-blown circus. But here's the difference between me and a regular guy. A regular guy catches wind of this, maybe he blows up her phone, shows up screaming at the airport, or tries to beg her for answers. Me? I've made a career out of being patient, out of letting people trap themselves while I take notes. So, I didn't rage. I didn't drink myself stupid. I didn't text her some long essay about betrayal. I sat down, cracked my knuckles, and started planning. Because this wasn't just about catching her. This was about consequences. And if there's one thing I believe in more than trust, it's that actions should always get the ending they deserve. Lana thought she was being clever with her blackout. What she didn't realize is she had just given me the breathing room to turn her whole life into daylight. And daylight burns. That was the moment I knew Lana wasn't getting a quiet breakup or a cold shoulder. She was getting a full production. If she wanted the high drama of Vegas, I was going to hand her a stage she couldn't walk off. No yelling in the kitchen, no we need to talk conversation, where she could cry her way into sympathy. This was going to be public, undeniable, and permanent. The way I saw it, lies only really die when the truth walks them into a crowd. The first piece I had to line up was William Cole, the rich guy with the SUV, the jet, and apparently a side hobby of importing girlfriends' trips. Guys like him walk around thinking their bank account is a shield. Whatever happens, they can just throw cash at it until it disappears. But what cash can't do is rewrite a flight plan or scrub a Bellagio guest list. Those things are concrete, and I already had them locked down. So I built a file, clean enough to hand straight to a lawyer, plane logs, timestamps, photos of Lana and her crew in his suite, everything tied in a bow. Then I did my homework on his wife, Catherine, pediatrician, smart, respected, the kind of woman who thought her husband was out hosting clients, not paying for high-end escorts and training. I didn't send the file to her directly. That's not my lane. I sent it to one of the sharpest divorce lawyers in her city with a note. Your client might want to see this. Her husband's trips aren't what she thinks they are. That was enough to light the fuse. Then came Randy, her ex. The guy she swore up and down was history, the cheater who supposedly crushed her. Funny how that worked out. I wasn't surprised he was in Vegas with her, but I was annoyed at how deep the lie went. Still, I had options. Randy lived like he was untouchable. Real estate deals, fancy cars, always posting motivational quotes like he was the Wolf of Wall Street. But court records don't lie, and his were stacked with lawsuits and angry former partners. Money went missing, business deals turned to ash, and Randy acted like it was just bad luck. I knew better. I called up a journalist buddy who specialized in people like him, gave him a little breadcrumb trail. Developer, Vegas trips, money doesn't add up. Then I handed him Randy's name. It was like tossing bait into a tank of sharks. Randy didn't know it yet, but his empire was built on wet sand, and I just turned on the hose. That left Lana, and that part wasn't business. It was personal. She thought she was coming home to hugs and a boyfriend who bought her stories. Instead, I wanted her to walk into a wall of reality. That's where Krista came in. She was Randy's current girlfriend, the one who got the wellness retreat in Arizona excuse while he was off drinking cocktails with my girlfriend. It didn't take me long to track her down. Teachers don't exactly have secret identities. One school staff directory later, I had her number. Making that call wasn't easy. Try telling a stranger her boyfriend is in Vegas with your girlfriend. It doesn't roll off the tongue. But I laid it out straight. Sent her the pictures, the audio, the proof. At first, there was just silence. Then crying. Then, after a long pause, anger. Not the screaming kind. The cold kind. The kind that knows payback is the only option left. That's when I told her Lana's return flight and made the offer. She's expecting me to be there, but I think you should be the one she sees first. Krista didn't hesitate. She wanted in. Now, I wasn't dumb. You don't just throw two angry people in an airport and hope the fireworks land clean. If you don't control the stage, it turns sloppy, and I didn't want sloppy. I hired a private security contractor I trusted, ex-military part-time limo driver. He'd hang out in arrivals with a sign so he blended right in. His phone camera would stream everything back to me live, so I could watch it all unfold from the comfort of my office chair. Meanwhile, Krista would be in position with her ace in the hole, a massive poster-sized photo of Lana sitting at a blackjack table in the Bellagio High Roller Lounge, Randy's arm draped around her. The picture was crystal clear, courtesy of my contact in casino security. It didn't need a caption. Anyone with eyes would get the point. But I wasn't stopping there. Public humiliation is one thing. Legal consequences are another. So I lined up a process server. Not some guy in a hoodie, but a professional in a sharp suit. He'd step in right after Krista's reveal, call Lana by her full name loud enough for everyone to hear, and hand her the envelope. Inside, a formal eviction notice and a restraining order. 30 days to move out of my house. No more showing up at my office. No more let's talk texts. It was over, on paper and in public. By the time I finished laying this out, I had every angle covered. William was about to get blindsided by his wife's lawyer. Randy was about to be dragged through the press. Krista had the poster ready to go. My contractor had the camera ready to stream. The process server had the papers prepped. While she was off the grid, I'd already gotten an ex parte temporary restraining order and prepped a 30-day notice to quit. Any pickup of her stuff had to be scheduled through a neutral third party and supervised. No pop-ins, no drama. Lana thought she blocked me out for 5 days. She thought she had control. What she really did was give me the breathing room to build the stage where her double life would collapse right on top of her. And when that curtain dropped, she wasn't walking off with applause. She was getting buried under it. And the shovel was already in Krista's hands. Sunday afternoon rolled around, and Lana's flight landed right on schedule. I wasn't at the airport, of course. I had my contractor streaming everything back to me in crisp HD. My laptop was open, coffee in hand, like I was settling in for a pay-per-view event. And honestly, it felt like one. The feed showed the arrival hall buzzing with the usual crowd, families holding balloons, Uber drivers scanning phones, people sprinting to baggage claim like the carousel was giving out gold. Then came the four of them, Lana, front and center, dragging her suitcase, phone in hand, hair perfect. She was smiling so big you'd think she just came back from curing world hunger, not from lying her way through 5 days in Vegas. Behind her, Kara, Maddie, and Chloe were weighed down with shopping bags, all of them laughing like life was good. I sat back in my chair. Showtime. On screen, Lana scanned the crowd, clearly expecting to spot me waiting by the doors. Instead, her eyes caught Krista, calm, steady, standing dead center with a massive poster board in her hands. And not just any poster, this was the picture I had secured through my Vegas contact. Lana and Randy sitting together at the blackjack table, his arm wrapped tight around her shoulders, both of them laughing like a couple on vacation. The image was high res, crystal clear. No denials, no, that's not me, no, bad angle. Lana froze mid-step. The grin evaporated. Her entire body just locked up like a computer hitting the blue screen of death. Her friends bumped into her from behind, confused, until their eyes followed hers and landed on Krista's poster. That's when their chatter died, like somebody hit the mute button. Krista didn't say a word at first. She didn't need to. She just stood there holding the photo, letting everyone around them connect the dots. And people did. You could see the whispers start. phones being pulled out, strangers pausing their reunions just to watch the slow-motion car crash unfold. Lana tried to recover. She gave this fake laugh, adjusted her hair, and veered like she was just going to walk past, pretend Krista was some random crazy woman. Bad move. Krista stepped forward, voice clear, calm, and cutting. Funny, Randy didn't fly home with you. That's because he's busy explaining this picture to me. That was it. Boom. The crowd went from whispering to staring. A bubble formed around them. Strangers glued to the scene, phones up recording every second. Lana's friends looked at her like they'd just realized the boat was sinking and none of them knew how to swim. Lana's face went pale. She tried to mutter something. Maybe, this isn't what it looks like. But before she could get a full excuse out, the second act began. A man in a sharp suit stepped forward. Not a cop, not airport staff, my process server. He had the envelope tucked under his arm and a voice that carried across the hall. Lana? He said loud enough for everyone within 30 feet to hear. Lana whipped her head toward him, stunned. She barely managed a nod. You've been served, he said, handing her a packet, a court-stamped temporary restraining order, and a notice to quit. 30 days. It spelled everything out. No contact, no showing up at my place, and any property pickup would be scheduled through a neutral third party, supervised within the notice period. Over, on paper, and in public. She just stared at it, hands shaking, then dropped her bags right there on the airport floor. The poster, the crowd, the papers. It was too much all at once. She covered her face with her hands and started sobbing. The kind of crying that isn't for pain, but for humiliation. And her ride-or-die girlfriends? Yeah, they weren't about to ride or die for anything. Kara grabbed her suitcase and bolted. Maddie pulled out her phone like she was texting an Uber before the dust even settled. Chloe just looked around, panicked, then slinked into the crowd. Rats leaving a sinking ship. The live stream caught every second. Lana, surrounded by her designer bags, crumpled on the floor of an airport while strangers recorded her disgrace for their Snapchat stories. Krista holding the photo like a trophy, expression stone cold. The process server walking off like it was just another day at the office. And me, miles away, sipping stale coffee, watching the woman who thought she could block me for 5 days learn what real blocking looked like. By the time my contractor ended the feed, I didn't feel rage or heartbreak. I felt closure. Clean, sharp, undeniable closure. Lana thought she was untouchable. Instead, she got buried under the weight of her own lies in front of 100 strangers and 3 so-called friends who couldn't ditch her fast enough. That was the funeral. No casket, no flowers, just a public burial of the double life she thought she could keep hidden. But funerals don't end at the grave. They echo. And when Lana's world hit the floor in that airport, the shockwaves spread fast. What she didn't realize in that moment was that I'd already set the dominoes up. All I had to do was watch them fall. The first domino to crash was William Cole. His wife Catherine didn't waste a second. By Monday morning, she was sitting in a divorce lawyer's office with the file I had anonymously delivered. She didn't scream or throw dishes. She acted like a surgeon. Clean cuts. She filed immediately and locked down assets. Catherine had a prenup that gave her the right to move money into a trust for her kids if William ever cheated, and she executed it like she'd been waiting for this day. Millions of dollars shifted out of William's reach before he even unpacked his luggage. And the news? Oh, it spread. His firm's board got wind of it, and suddenly, Family Man partner didn't fit their branding. They couldn't fire him overnight, but the pressure was there. Whispers, meetings behind closed doors, colleagues avoiding his calls. William was still walking into the building in a tailored suit, but everyone knew it was borrowed time. Kara didn't escape either. Remember, she was in half those photos with him, hanging off his arm like she was auditioning for a reality show. Catherine's lawyer made sure her name got listed in the court filings. Public record. You can imagine how that played out in her social circle. She went from self-proclaimed Queen Bee to radioactive. None of the wealthy guys she chased wanted to be associated with the woman in the divorce papers. She'd built her whole identity around being the ringleader, and now she was toxic. Then there was Randy. My journalist friend had taken the tip I gave him and chewed through it like a pit bull. By Wednesday, there was a full article in a business section calling him out. Headline basically boiled down to, local developer lives large while investors foot the bill. And the Vegas trip? It got mentioned. Suddenly, his lawsuits weren't just court filings nobody cared about. They were front-page gossip tied to pictures of him drinking with women in casinos. His business partners saw it, lawyers saw it, hell, even his tenants probably saw it. Randy went from wannabe tycoon to cautionary tale overnight. Lawsuits piled on harder, and talk of criminal investigations started circling. Krista wasn't wasting her time either. With my help, she started preparing her own legal action against him for financial damages. She wasn't just mad, she was focused. I gave her the blueprint, she gave him the wrecking ball. And then there was Lana, the star of the airport funeral. She had no boyfriend, no home, and no allies. Her friends abandoned her at baggage claim. Her so-called exciting Vegas adventure turned into a highlight reel of her humiliation. By the time she called her parents to come pick her up, she was already stripped bare. 30 years old, crying into her dad's passenger seat, clutching an eviction notice. From living in a house she didn't pay for, to sleeping in her childhood bedroom under posters she probably hung in high school. Reset to 0. Of course, she tried to reach me. Burner phones, fake email accounts, even a new number she got through her job. Every message was some variation of, "We need to talk. You don't understand. Please hear me out." But I didn't respond. I had my lawyer send her a cease and desist letter reminding her about the restraining order. Clean, cold, done. Her friends tried too. Kara claiming she had no idea what was going on. Maddie saying she was lied to as well. Chloe pretending she was innocent because she didn't post as much. They all wanted to rewrite history now that the grenade had gone off. I ignored them. They weren't victims. They were accomplices who bailed the second the heat got too real. Meanwhile, I spent the week erasing Lana from my life like she'd never existed. I photographed and inventoried her belongings, boxed them, and put everything in a short-term storage unit. Through my lawyer, I sent her and her parents 2 supervised pickup windows at the storage office within the 30-day notice. She was listed as an authorized pickup. The manager would hand it over during the slot. After the notice period ended, I changed the locks and closed the book. Number changed, accounts updated, photos nuked, ghost protocol, and watching it all from my office, I won't lie, it was satisfying. Not in a Hollywood hero wins way, more in a methodical, this is what happens when you play stupid games way. Every move had landed exactly how I planned it. William was cornered, Randy was drowning, Kara was toxic, Krista was armed, and Lana? Lana was just a name on a restraining order, sobbing into her pillow in her parents' house. She thought she could have it all, the security of me and the thrill of someone else. She thought blocking me for 5 days was a clever little loophole. But what she never understood is that in my world, lies don't just get exposed. They get documented, filed, and weaponized. She gave me space, and I turned that space into a firing range. And every shot hit. Anyways, 6 months have passed since the airport. Half a year feels like forever when you're living it. But looking back, it went by in a blur. The chaos, the drama, the wreckage, it all settled into silence. And in that silence, I started building something new. The fallout from those 5 days didn't just disappear, it calcified into permanent changes for everyone involved. William Cole's divorce finalized 2 months ago, and it wasn't pretty. Catherine played her cards perfectly. Armed with my evidence, she drained what she could into the kid's trust, then bled him dry in court. William lost the house, a chunk of his fortune, and eventually his job at the firm. The board pushed him out quietly, claiming restructuring, but everyone knew the truth. He's not blacklisted, but his reputation is radioactive. A man who once strutted into rooms now avoids eye contact. Kara ended up as collateral damage. Her name showing up in those filings turned her into a social pariah. She tried to act like nothing happened, but high society is built on whispers, and once whispers become fact, doors close fast. The wealthy guys she used to orbit treat her like she's contaminated. Her queen bee status? Gone. Now she's just another hanger-on trying to find relevance in circles that won't have her. Randy's world collapsed the hardest. The article about his shady deals triggered an avalanche of lawsuits, and the investigation snowballed. He went from smug developer to defendant in record time. Civil suits drained him. Criminal charges might follow. Krista left him for good and, with my guidance, filed her own claims to recover damages. He thought he was untouchable. Now he's barely holding on to the scraps. Lana's story is quieter. After the airport, she spent weeks hiding in her parents' house, then scraped together enough for a small apartment. Last I heard, she found a modest job, something that barely covers rent. Her friends never came back. The social life she clung to? Dead. No more Vegas trips, no more glamorous posts. Just silence. And for someone like her, silence is the worst punishment. She did reach out one last time. Not through a call or a burner text. She learned those get intercepted. 2 months ago, I received a letter, forwarded through my lawyer. Handwritten, multiple pages. It wasn't the usual "you misunderstood" garbage. She didn't ask for another chance. She didn't make excuses. She just owned it. She admitted the blocking, the lies, the blackout. It was all her way of juggling the stability I gave her with the thrill she craved. She said the airport was the worst day of her life, but also the first time she actually saw herself for what she was, someone who valued attention more than love. She wrote that she's in therapy, trying to fix herself, and maybe one day become a person she doesn't hate when she looks in the mirror. She ended it by saying she didn't expect forgiveness, but wanted me to know she was sorry. I read it once, folded it up, and put it in a drawer. For the first time since this started, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel smug satisfaction either. Just closure. Some things break, and no matter how much glue you use, they never go back the same. That's what our relationship was. Shattered glass. As for me, my life didn't just bounce back, it got better. Krista and I kept in touch after the airport. Two people who'd both been burned in the same fire found common ground. At first it was coffee, then dinners, then more. We didn't talk about Vegas, not much. Instead, we talked about families, work, dumb little things. Slowly, it grew into something real. Something built on honesty. Not fireworks, not chaos, just trust. And for me, trust is everything. It's not some Hollywood ending where I ride off into the sunset. But I don't need that. I've got peace. I've got a partner who doesn't lie about where she's going or who she's with. I've got a business that's thriving because I can focus without personal chaos in the background. And most importantly, I've got control of my own life again. Lana thought she was clever when she blocked me for 5 days. She thought it gave her space to live a double life. What it really did was give me time to strip everything down and build a wall she'll never climb over again. She gave me a blackout. I gave her permanence. 6 months later, the dust is gone, the noise has faded, and I've learned something important. Revenge doesn't fix everything, but it forces people who hide behind illusions to face the truth. At that airport, masks came off. The strong walked away stronger, and the liars got buried under their own weight. I don't think about her anymore. And that's the biggest win of all.